the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is an AVNation Special. My name is Tom Albright. I am your host. With us from Women in AV, Miss Jennifer Willard. How are you, ma'am?
Hi, Tim. We are becoming familiar friends this week.
We are indeed. And, well, I don't know quite how to introduce this person, so I'm just going to say it is my honor and privilege to introduce Miss Jan Sandri from FSR. How are you, ma'am?
Just wonderful, and I'm so happy to be here with you both.
Well, we were talking about this, and Jan, getting you to sit down like this is very, very special. So thank you.
Thank you. I really don't do it often, but with the two of you doing this, I just wanted to be part of it.
Well, let's be frank here. Jennifer had something to do with it.
Oh, yeah, Jennifer has a lot to do with it. She's a very good arm twister.
Yeah, I'm just the big dumb monkey. So let's talk about this for a couple things. Jennifer and I, she's kind of joking because we did a special with Drunk Uncles, and one of the cool things about Drunk Uncles is the fact that they raise money. One of the ways they raise money is they have really great companies that come alongside them, and one of those great companies is FSR. So, Jen, real quickly, to just kind of tie in some things that we've done this week as we get ready for InfoComm, talk about how you guys got involved with NSCA and Drunk Uncles and helping raise money for education and for women in AV in the industry.
Well, FSR has been part of NSCA for the entire 35 years we've been in business. And I've known Steve Emspak for probably equally that long. And I learned about his band from his chatting about it at different events, but I had never really heard them play. So all of a sudden, Chuck decided maybe he'll help us raise money, and then they started looking for sponsors, and I said, well, FSR will sponsor because it's going for scholarships, which is a great thing. Our industry needs as much help as we can get educating younger people and drawing them in, and the scholarships are a great way to do it. So for 10 years, we've been doing it.
No, that's a great attitude to have too. Just from a manufacturer standpoint, is making sure that as someone in the industry, you're helping to bring up the people younger than all of us, to help replace us eventually.
And it's a great party.
It is a great party. Yes.
Bring your earplugs, but it's a marvelous party.
Yeah, it is a great party. So let's talk about let's kind of back up a little bit and talk about the fact that FSR has been around for 35 years. You are not the youngest manufacturer by any stretch. You're not the oldest, but I said manufacturer. Manufacturer.
Right, all right.
But 35 years is significant. I mean, it really is. I mean, if you think about it, there have companies that have come and gone in those 35 years. Some pretty rocket to the top type companies and fizzled out or burned out, however you want to say it. How have you stuck around for 35 years? How has FSR been successful for that many years?
I think our entire product line and the way we approach business, first of all, we're very business friendly. We've had the same customers, well, not quite all of 35 years, because our very first customer was Ancha Electronics from Chicago, and they have since been sold off or gone away. But we respect our customers, and they respect us. And if we go to create products, we talk to them. Because although my engineers may think that they're the smartest and the best around and they have all the answers, we don't. The answers come from our customers and our consultants. And we listen to them, we engage in what they're doing, and we work as a team. And neither one of us is any better or loftier than anybody else. In fact, at FSR, I always tell people that, as we know, engineers have, they think they're the top of the pile, and the salespeople think they're the top of the pile. And I'll say to them,
engineers the top of the pile, really.
And I'll say, you know what? You're no more important or no less important than the guy in shipping. Because if you create this great product and it's wonderful and the customers are buying it and it gets down to shipping and they ship it to the wrong place, what good was it? So I think working as a team within FSR, with our consultant community and with our dealers and our reps, we've managed to stay in business by creating the right products with the right attitude.
So here's a question that probably doesn't get asked very often. How did you start FSR? I mean, what was the, were you just sitting back one afternoon in the shores of New Jersey saying, you know what, I think the AV industry is a pretty cool place. Let's go hang out there for a few years.
No, actually, both my partner, Bill Fitzsimmons, and myself were working for Charlie Rodriguez at AV Services. Okay. And Charlie was just getting into integration, working with what back then was probably the largest consulting company in the country. Lord, the name just went right. Wilkie, Hubert Wilkie. It was just the Hubert Wilkie organization, and he had an office in Manhattan, he had an office in California, and one in England. And he was the largest. And Charlie Rodriguez was getting into integration with him, so Bill went first because Bill has all the engineering talent. And we were in integration, and Bill said, why are we designing these products over and over and over for every job? Why don't we just separate the company and let's start supplying products that not only we need, but other people may need? So it was actually Charlie, Bill, and myself that started the company, and our first customer was Ancha Electronics, and they said to us, this is great. Now we don't have to have our techs creating these things. And they said, we'll put our techs in sales, and then we will just we'll take those techs, put them in sales, and you can supply the products.
Wow.
So that's how it started.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about that, Jan?
Yeah.
So I find that so interesting. Just as a historical AV industry, are you one of the first manufacturers to ever, sort of get into that supply chain for AV, or?
No, we are the first with the infrastructure products, with the floor boxes, the table boxes, and the wall boxes for our industry. Yes, we're the first there. For the electronics, no. There were one or two other companies out there, and they were obviously larger than us. But for the infrastructure products, yes, we were the first.
Well, and to back to Jen's point, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, she's right. Integrators did have to either sub it out to to somebody who could manufacture it for them, or they did it in house, which obviously took manpower. It took it took time and took resources.
Right.
Jen, something that we've talked about for good Lord, as long as I've known you, which is 4 years now, I guess. Is the women in AV, right? And let's talk about the organization itself, but also let's talk about Jan's place as a woman in AV, and we're going to kind of get to comparing what it was like 35 years ago, 40 years ago for a woman in AV compared to now. But I want you for a second, Jennifer, to talk about Jan's place as a woman in AV, and how important it is for someone not for nothing, but somebody who started a company, and has been around for that long, and been that significant in the industry.
Well, I mean, personally, Jen, my hero. I always tell her she's absolutely the dearest woman and like a mom to me. And so whenever I saw the article yesterday about FSR supporting people, I mean, it just can't be said enough for how lucky just all of us are to have someone like Jan. I mean, I mean that just personally from my heart, to see the support, and she's just out of this world. So anybody that's lucky enough to get to go see her and get to talk to her is just totally over the moon. And so I actually met Jan. Jan and I met at InfoComm 100.
Yes.
Yeah. And talk about the start. You want to talk about the start of it? I had lost my wallet, which I subsequently found. that same day underneath my chair in my hotel room. But here, I mean, it just goes to show, like, here's Jan. You know, I was panicked. I was my license, like everything possible, and she's whipping out everything that she could possibly do to help me to get home and to make sure that everything was going to be okay. And it was just, I mean, it was so touching and just so heartwarming that we didn't even know each other, but it was just everything about her as a person. You know, let alone everything I've come to find out about her as a business owner, as a mentor, as a role model, things that you wouldn't even imagine. When you say, Tim, that was she just sitting at home, the first thing that comes to my mind was she's the mayor of her town back in that area. You know, she was on the council. It's just, it really sort of just blows me away, and so I'm just so grateful and feel really blessed to have Jan as someone I consider a dear, dear friend, and also someone as a woman in AV who we all can look up to. You know, beyond just, you know, her ability to be so generous and kind, but as a businesswoman, you know, it truly is amazing that a company such as, it doesn't surprise me in any way that it's hers, but that a company would last 35 years in our industry, to be so successful, to continue to navigate and be relevant and reinvent itself so that it's always ahead of people. Jan is very involved with IT, with Bixby and CompTIA, and all of these different organizations that most of our industry just doesn't even really recognize the significance and value of a vision and where we're going. So it was a no-brainer to ask Jan to join us. And she's one of our founding members.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the women in AV and some of the things that you guys are trying to do to you know, to promote, you know, the women involvement in AV. Jan, we kind of talked about this before we started, but let's kind of go back to it. What was it like as a woman in AV in the 70s and the 80s, going to InfoComm? And let's talk about that. That's, you know, the show is coming up next week. What was it like as a woman going to?
Actually, it was wonderful. I have to say that the men in our industry are polite, they're helpful, and they don't look at you like, oh, you're a woman, maybe you don't know as much as I do. They always want to help, as opposed to politics, where the men are horrible, and they don't want to help, and they just kind of want to push you on the side. But they were always very good. Even making, whether I was at a trade show or making sales calls, they were helpful, and they gave us a lot of good advice. And they always came to the booth. They were always, you know, okay, let's see what you've got now. What do you have new for us? And it's interesting because that exact same question is asked today, 35 years later, at the trade show booths. They'll come in and say, what's new? What have you got new for me today? So... but it was a nice experience. It really was. And that's why I'm so happy to see more women. And when I met Jen, I was thrilled to see young people. We have, InfoComm was honoring young people who are in our industry, who are succeeding, and that was great. That was great, because without the young people, we're not going to push ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Jen, talk for a second about you know, the education that FSR and other folks are helping you guys with. You know, we talked with Chuck Wilson the other day about the NSCA Education Foundation getting things like scholarships to the BLC for women in AV. I mean, how do you guys do that? I mean, do you just make friendships like Jan, and then you guys say, okay, you know, here's a woman that needs help, or how does that work?
Well, I think, you know, it's kind of catch-22. We've talked about this also before, is, you know, when you have a core founding board consisting of Jan Sandri, Corey Schaefer, Kelly Perkins, myself, and Laureen Jones, you can't help but want to do everything. And if there was any women in this world that could possibly do it, those were the women. And so when we went out, we had so many initiatives and so many programs that we wanted to undertake that we tried everything, and we were really successful. We've had webinars where they've ranged everything from professional development all the way down to technical skills. So we've consistently done new things. We've tried mentoring. We wanted to do a full mentoring program, and so we've set up people. It ranges everything from something as informal as, Jan, I know this woman, you know, in New Jersey. Do you? She's going to come by. So, you know, things that are informal, casual relationships that we have, all the way up to Chuck and NSCA and Jan and Drunk Uncles. You know, all of us pulling together and, you know, actually having a scholarship. So, as I mentioned, we went out this year to want to bring one woman to the BLC Leadership Conference, and because of the money and the support of the New York Wave chapter, the local chapter, and the Drunk Uncles concerts and fundraising and everyone out there, we ended up sending 3 women out there this year. So it was just phenomenal to think that you started something wanting to be small and how big it grows. One of the major things that we've learned and that we're doing is, as wonderful as it is to want to do everything, we really have to focus on 1 or 2 major initiatives in order to be successful and not try to do everything so we spread ourselves too thin. So in education and things like that, one of our major initiatives is redesigning our website. And within that, we'll have a lot of opportunities. Right now it's kind of stagnant. It pushes information out. It served its purpose and is, you know, helps us to get it, like, things done, but it's not interactive. It's not what I would consider a live working portal where you can go and look for job opportunities. I've had people come to me all the time, hey, can we get this to women? We've seen people now, the change where they specifically look for women and they want to hire women. So having a job board, you know, having places where people can get technical news, you know, things that are a little bit more interactive is part of, you know, what we're looking to do in terms of educating women.
But Jen, one of your objectives is absolutely perfect that we have to take on, and that's getting more chapters.
Yes.
Just recently, one of our sales reps said, we don't have a chapter in Virginia or Maryland, and how do we get this going, and what do we do? So we need a few more chapters around, and then we need a way to pull it together either on the website or some vehicle that we can tie all these chapters together, because there's women all over the place who want to join. They just don't know how to set up a chapter.
Well, absolutely. And to that point, just to that point is, so we have really 3 major initiatives besides our InfoComm, and the idea is to tie them all together. Is we have our redesign of our web, which is our face sort of to the world, where people can really access us and get and share information and find resources. Behind that, we have a WAVE demographic survey. So back in 2013, I had gone out and I had done a survey to try, like, who are we? Who are the women, you know, in our industry, and try to get a membership. But right now, we're going to start, doing a 2015. We're going to do it over. We're going to get demographics. We're going to build a solid foundation of a database, Jan. I think, to exactly your point, including the different kind of regions. And so we can have something at a global level that actually has all of our members worldwide, but you can break it down into all different areas so that when somebody does want to come and have somebody in Boston, say, get a chapter, we can go into our database and look and say, well, here's 3 other women in Boston
who would like to do that.
Right. We'd like to do that and get together. So behind that is the database, and that's sort of the track of how we'll get that information, and then which will lead to the 3rd initiative, which is, as you said, really building up our local chapters and getting women together more often geographically.
Right. And Tim, just so you know, the founding members of WAVE were located all the way from New Jersey straight across the country to California and then on to New Zealand. That was our original group. So we covered a lot of territory with a few women.
Yeah, you did. What's some of the I guess some of the challenges that you guys have faced over the last 3 or 4 years? WAVE is 4 years old this year, and what are some of the more significant challenges you've run into over the last few years?
I mean, I can speak a little bit to that, Jan. But you want to go ahead and, like, what have you experienced as challenges
for our group in general?
Yeah, for WAVE in general.
Right. It's to gather the women up so we have a forum to discuss things. It's to try and incorporate everybody who wants to join to sit down and do something. England has been very, believe it or not, England's been very successful. They're a very active chapter. New York is trying to be more active, but we have the advantage of having the drunk uncles in our backyard, and we can tap them out when we need them. But we just need to find, the challenge is to find these women and then give them a spot to say, okay, this is where we meet, this is what we do, and just to get them together in chapters. That's a struggle. That's a struggle. But it's a struggle worth doing, because when the women get together, they share so much information, and we just build a stronger industry by doing it.
Right, and I, to further that, I mean, I just completely agree with what Jan's saying. It's one of the challenges, I think, for us is to try to find what it is that we can offer women that they want to be part of. And that's a question I find myself asking a lot. You know, I've tried everything. We've tried the webinars. We've tried to push information. We've tried to ask questions. We've tried to, what is the real participation that women want to find out of women in AV? Is it the professional development? Is it the technical skills? Is it just a newsletter? Is it, you know, is it the local chapters? It is challenging in some regards when you have such a diverse group of people to find a way that, okay, this is what people really want to get involved in. But I can say that this demographic and this membership group, it's one of our recent conversations on LinkedIn, and women are just participating out of, like, the most participation I've seen in a long time for women, because it's like, who are we? And just so even building around something like that and trying to find a way for women to feel like they are getting a value out of our organization is something that we really are looking at, you know, understanding a little better.
Okay. Well, we're all willing to work hard at it. We just need to find the chapters and the people and get them to sit down together and talk. I think once they sit down and start talking, we'll find lots more initiatives and lots more ways to communicate with everyone.
Yeah, and that's one of the neat things about the industry in general is people's willingness to share. You know, people's willingness to share their highs and their lows, their wins and their losses, and what they learn from them. That's one of the neatest things about InfoComm in general, and just the BLC and the other meetings that we all go to is folks' willingness to kind of open up and say, you know, this is what worked for me, this is what didn't work for me. You know.
Yes, and even the InfoComm board is very accessible. Dave Labuscus is very accessible. Everybody wants to, they want to see the industry grow. It's all our livelihoods, and this industry employs a great many people, and we want to make sure it stays that way.
Definitely. Well, and to that end, Jan, you mentioned, you know, getting some of FSR's education initiatives, and the reason that you give to the places you give is to get more young people up and into the industry. How do we do that? You know, what are some of your thoughts on some of the best ways to get younger people, you know, excited about this industry and involved?
Well, I think it's actually really interesting in the sense that I find myself very lucky, and I consider myself really blessed, because I was someone who went to a public high school in a small country town in Massachusetts, and I had the advantage of having a full functioning broadcast studio. So at the age of 14 and 15, I was literally producing news shows. And so at the time, obviously, you know, it was just fun, it was exciting, I really enjoyed it. But then I went to the University of Massachusetts, which was a public university, and we had a full functioning television station. So I got to be the president there. I got to be a news director. I got to work for ESPN, being a gopher for the Hartford Whalers when they still existed. So it really is having the access to children at that age and the youth, and giving them ideas about what it is to participate in, but not in the way that it's an education. I think one of the challenges our industry has had, just whether it be introducing women and getting them involved, and or, you know, youth, is that they're not intrigued by the widgets, the bolts, the numbers, the models, typically what our industry is a box and making it work. They're excited about saving a child's life in Nigeria through the use of telemedicine. So, I mean, to be able to actually sell our industry to women and to the youth in a way, again, that makes them feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, part of something that's creative. Those are the ways that we're going to actually get children to stay involved. I've seen a lot of initiatives, and I know that NSCA is coming out with something I believe is called Ignite. They had Chuck had talked about that just the other day. So it's actually, we're focusing and we're doing the right things about focusing on the youth and trying to get them early, but what is the message that we're actually trying to sell them to have them come in? I mean, how do I say this nicely? The frustrated rock star band member. I mean, it's known in our industry that everybody was in a band.
But I think the manufacturers have a responsibility to reach out, to give opportunities to interns, to give opportunities to high school students who need a summer position or who need some work to do during the Christmas vacation. We need to reach out to these people and let them know this is what our industry is about. This is what happens. But we need to do that through offering jobs for these kids. And maybe, yes, getting an intern in is a responsibility because you have to find something for them to do or help them learn. But that's what furthers the industry. We have to let them know that there are jobs here. We have lots of jobs, and you can be trained, you can do in-house training, you can go to college and get your degree in a lot of different things. Specifically, we need more engineers. We need more probably
Consultants.
and lighting
Designers.
Right. And but manufacturers have to reach out. It's our responsibility to reach out to schools and colleges and offer positions for them.
Do we not? I mean, that's a good point, Jan. I mean, that sticks out for me, the internship program. Do we as an industry not really offer internships?
I don't know. We do at FSR. In fact, 2 of our interns that we got out of one of the local colleges who came to work for 4 months for us, we hired and gave full-time positions to. And they had no idea this industry ever existed. We offer jobs to college students, high school students, as long as they're 17 years old and over. But so if we start them in high school, a lot of times they go to college, and during their time off, they come back. And now where they just started maybe on something very simple on the production floor, the second year they may be helping engineering with something. Or helping, we have one of our interns who came back a couple years, he goes to InfoComm with us. So you can promote the industry if you're willing to just look around, and all it takes is asking your own employees. Do you have kids who need a summer job? Do you know someone in college who'd like a position? So, but you have to do the outreach.
Yeah, and to answer your question directly, Jen, I know a number of integrators throughout the country that do look for both high school and college students,
yes,
and bring them in over the summer, whether it's marketing, whether it's engineering, even technicians. You know, that you can start them, like Jan said, you can start them out, you know, at the lower levels,
right,
teaching them how to pull cable properly, right? Anybody can pull cable, but properly pulling cable and properly installing, you know, and this, that, and the other. So yeah, there are a number of doing it. You know, FSR is doing a really good job. There are a number of other manufacturers who tap some of the same resources. We probably don't do it as much as we probably could, but those are some great points.
Well, and the reason I mentioned that is because that it just, you know, I'm the idea person, right? You know, and so I've got, everything sounds great, but it really does sound to me, you know, if somebody says that something takes 3 steps, my personal thing is always I'm already looking for how to do it in 1. Like that's how my brain thinks. But you know, if you have companies like FSR and you have other integrators, people who are already doing this, a lot of times I think people don't do what they don't know how to do just because they don't know. So if you have somebody who already has a program, working with those companies to try to leverage some type of guidelines or something that would help another company sort of get that off their feet, that's something that we as the women in AV have a stake in. We have a vested interest, and we also, I think, have something that we can offer for that. So that's something I'm going to talk to you more about that, Jan.
Okay. That's
Jennifer
fine.
may have found another initiative. So
There you go.
Jen, as we kind of gear up for InfoComm, we wrap up here. Talk a little bit about the 35 years, right? I mean, I've said it before, and I'll say it next week probably when we meet. 35 years is not insignificant, all right? And I appreciate and I admire you. You're kind of like me. You're like, yeah, that's cool, you know. But no, 35 years is not insignificant. What are you guys doing? What sort of special things are you doing? Not only next week at InfoComm, because that is a significant milestone in the year for the AV industry, but maybe throughout this next year to celebrate and to highlight your 35 years.
Well, one of the things we're doing at InfoComm is we're celebrating on the show floor at 1 o'clock on Thursday, and we have a large cake and champagne. And we wanted to do something with the people on the show floor because they're like family. They are our customers, they are our consultants, they are our friends. So we're doing that. Another thing, FSR has always been very philanthropic when it comes to the veterans, when it comes to children's organizations, and a lot of other charities that we pick up along the way, one of them being a women's charity. But this year we're also going to celebrate our 35 years and the fact that my partner Bill and I have both been elected as board members of a charity in Florida called Kindness Shared, Happiness Squared. And it's a charity for children to bring happiness to children, whether they are mentally challenged, whether they are physically challenged, or whether they come from family circumstances that the families just can't provide. Because if you look at some areas, you look at the wealth we have in this country with the yachts parked behind the huge mansions and the sports cars in the driveway, and you drive 5 miles down the road and you have children who some families are sleeping in cars, other kids are sharing a pair of shoes to go to school, or some kids don't get to eat every night. Well, that's what this charity is all about, helping. And they teach classes to the parents of how to be better parents. So that was one initiative we're picking up for our 35th year. And then we will have a big company celebration for our own people this year. We normally do one large company party, but we'll do a second one this year to celebrate our 35 years.
Oh, very cool.
And we'll probably offer some special pricing to some of our customers along the way just to celebrate 35 years.
Well, Lord, that'll make a lot of people happy. That's kind of cool.
Yes.
So a special 35th anniversary price sheet, as it were.
Yeah. Now here's specials and all that.
Put a little icon on it.
Right, a birthday cake with 35 candles, and here's your special pricing.
Well, no, and there are some people that throw in candy in some of their boxes. Just include a piece of anniversary cake in every.
Yeah, we'll have to change. Instead of candy bars, we'll have to send out little cakes or something.
Yes, yeah. So that's Thursday. The booth number is 1331. Next Thursday, or this Thursday, depending on when you're watching this. At the FSR booth at 1 o'clock on Thursday, June 18th.
Everyone's welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Jan, we'll start with you, and then Jen will wrap it up. If there's one thing that you wish folks knew about FSR, what would it be?
That 90% of our products are made in the USA, right here in New Jersey. We fight to keep as many products, and they're all quality products. We keep the manufacturing right here because we believe that manufacturing is a stronghold in our nation, and we need to build that up. And that is why we resist the temptation to have our products made offshore.
How hard has that been to keep that at 90%?
It's a challenge. It's a pricing challenge. However, it leads to better products because manufacturing, you all have issues sooner or later with a product or whatever, but we can control it right here, make sure that if we've made an error, we can correct it immediately. We're not waiting for a container to come in from offshore. We correct it here and we ship a quality product. We can also, if a customer has a very large order and they're under time constraints, we can shift our production lines around and make sure that they get what they need when they need it. So it's challenging, but I think it's worth the time and effort to keep the manufacturing here.
Yeah, absolutely. Jennifer, as we wrap up, what's one thing that you wish folks would know about either Women in AV or FSR?
Well, I mean, for FSR, I can't say it enough, is about what a great company it is to do business with. And I think that that's, part of why, they have been so successful. Bill Fitzsimmons is my dream crush. Anybody who knows.
Oh, you're going to make his day.
Anybody who knows, he knows how he's my dream come true crush. I mean, and it's so interesting to know his story, and he really is just this. It's wonderful, and you can see why him and Jan and they have been so successful. Being made in the USA is just it's a great company, and you feel like you're well taken care of all the time, as well as the products that you get out of it. You will never go wrong. You'll never go wrong there. And then for the Women in AV, I think one of the important things that's always been our mission, and we talked about this right away up front. One of the things I wish people would know: we welcome men. For me personally, as Jan was saying earlier about how men are so helpful, and everybody, we are really, truly, of all the STEM technologies, I really feel that we are so blessed when it comes to the men in our industry. We're a very service-oriented industry, just as who we are and what we do. But from a woman's perspective, it's amazing and incredible. Some of our largest supporters that we've had over the years are men. NSCA, Media Vision with Fardad. I mean, they are just significant. Blair Baker with Synex. I mean, it's just we're really, really, truly blessed. And it's interesting because I always say you have these women's organizations, and it's they're for women by women. It's like, well, you're already at 20%, so I don't know what you think you're gonna do, or how far you're gonna get. Tim, I mean, you've been one of our hugest and biggest supporters. I mean, our first podcast that we ever had. To get us out ahead and to always support and promote us. So I think that that's one thing that I really wish that more people really felt comfortable and understood, that we are so grateful for guys like yourself and men like yourself who give us the opportunities and help mentor and take us under your wing. And then also, pleased to have other men feel comfortable joining us. And, we are all an industry. So as much as we are the quote-unquote women in AV, I like to think of us as a place where everybody is welcome. And, nobody's turned away. Everybody, just you come and everybody joins, and we're just a bunch of people who like to help each other. And,
we're just a piece of the puzzle.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and we have fun parties, right, Jan?
Yes, we do.
And one thing I would say is this: yes, here's the thing. It's an industry that we absolutely love, and that I absolutely love. And for any man in the industry, you know what? You've got a daughter, you have a wife, you have a sister, you have a mother. It's just being human more than anything. All right, that's going to wrap us up. We all have things to get ready for InfoComm. So Jennifer, thank you so much. Where can people find out more about Wave?
You can find us at www.womeninav.com, or the other great place to follow us is at Twitter on @WomenInAV, especially coming up next week. You'll find us out there and listening, hearing for news, and trying to send out and spread the word. So that's where you find us.
All right. And Miss Jan Sandri from FSR, thank you, ma'am. And where can people find out more about you or about FSR?
www.fsrinc.com or booth 1331 at InfoComm. Or call me up. I'm here.
Or call her. Call Jan.
She's
She'll
not
ship
kidding
you a
about
piece
that.
of anniversary cake.
I
She
have
will.
to say something. Like, that is no joke. Every time I get a press release, I see at the bottom for the contacts is Jan Sandri, and I always feel bad because I'm like, I don't want to give her number out to people. But I constantly see it. She's not joking. Call her.
No, call me up.
Jennifer doesn't want to, but the PR department has no problem giving us.
That's right. That's right.
Number. So, all right. My name is Tim Albright. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. This has been an AVNation special about FSR.